Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniature, and today I wanted to talk to you guys about the Alien Hives from One Page Rules. Now, funny enough, this video has been literally months in the making, and no, it's not because I've got such a huge backlog of things I want to print and paint, which I do, but it's because every single time I wanted to do this, there was like another new thing right around the corner, and I'm like, oh, you know what, let's wait, let's do this after this new release comes out. And I'm like, you know what, I had to put my foot down, had to draw that line in the sand. I said, let's just film with what we've got, because literally it seems like every month they are adding more and more models to this range, and I mean, that's a good thing, I think. And I think it's a very versatile range, which is actually why I wanted to talk to you guys about it. So this is like one of the very first ones. I've got blue tack under my thumb, cool. One of the very first models that OPR, One Page Rules, put out for their Alien Hives. This is the basic grunt. And he came in two flavors, the clawed, spiky one, or one with a shooter version that had a gun in his mouth. That was about the only real difference other than the poses. So I didn't really know what to do with the colors on it, but I thought, you know what, these things are perfect for just nice little creepy crawlies. I don't think they really necessarily need to be limited to only sci-fi games. I think, yeah, they're great for bug hunts. They are very bug-like, but I think, especially as you see some of the other models in the range here, I think they've got a lot of use for fantasy stuff as well, or as demons, or whatever you want to roll them out as. Obviously, when we think Alien Hives, we start thinking of certain bug-like, grimdark aliens, which you can see there's going to be some absolutely obvious uses for them in a 40K game, for example. But one thing I need to warn everybody about is that the sizes of these models don't necessarily match up with a GW kit. So if you wanted to mix and match things into the same army, I just want to preface with saying that you might want to double check the sizes before you go that route, okay? So yes, we had our little basic guy, and so I was like, oh cool, let's print some more, you know? Because we need a bunch of little, you know, grunty, runny guys. And you'll notice that some of the prints of these are better than others, and that's really just because, like I said, this is a video that's literally been months in the making, because I kept printing and all jazzed and excited to start it, and then, nope, there's something new that I want to print and include in this video. So, like I said, I'm just going to finally suck it up. We're going to get it done. We're going to show off what we've got here. So, nicely enough, they do fit on these 20mm bases, because like I said, I'm thinking they would make a great horde of just, like, sea critters or something for, like, Trident realms. I don't know. You could find a use for them. Nightwalker's army for Kings of War. I'm sure there's some kind of demon-style army you could use them for, like, 9th Age or something. But just the fact that they're going to be able to fit on those bases, I bet you can rank them up. The fact that you can print up a ton of them, even easier, right? That's my thinking, at least. And so, yes, there's all sorts of various poses as they're running and swarming across the table or falling over. But I thought, you know, that's not enough. I didn't print any of the shooter ones of these for some reason. I just like the basic ones. I did try printing up. They ended up releasing a winged version. And here you can actually see he's got, like, the little organic shooter shoot stick thing in his mouth there. Now, of course, they do make the flying variants in both shooter or basic version. And one thing that also is worth mentioning is that all of the models here are available as a single piece, pre-supported, or if you want to go the hardcore route and you've got amazing settings completely dialed in and you want to print out every individual limb, at least for the older ones, that is absolutely an option. I'm not sure so much with the newer stuff. That remains to be seen. I've just taken it easy and I've been printing them all regular sized. So after you've got your basic grunts, then you start to get into the warriors. The guns give me a very Halo vibe. Now, these are nowhere near as big as a Tyranid, so just be aware, okay? We're having an actual Tyranid warrior. And you'll see, obviously, the other big difference is they only have 2 hands versus the typical 4 on a GW kit. Now, interestingly enough, the warriors, much like the previously shown off grunts come in a variety of flavors as well. If you want to have close combat ones, I know he's shiny and blue, but that's okay. They have close combat ones with swords and, you know, the leaders with whips as well. So that's something that exists. I believe this is like the alpha one, so if you wanted your, like, you know, big boss type version who doesn't want to stand up at the moment. There, that's better. He is definitely a little bit bulkier than the basic one. I've shown off, I painted one up in very Hive Fleet Kraken colors before. There's no rhyme or reason or organization to this hive, obviously. Of course, it doesn't help when one base is larger than the other. And then, in addition to both having the close combat and regular ranged versions, we also have a few that have special weapons available as well. A nice touch. So, if you've never had a chance to check out One Page's rules stuff, there is a link down below, both to their Patreon and their regular page, which has all of their free rules and has army lists for their kind of truncated version of grimdark battles in the far future. So it's worth checking out. I really enjoy it. That's usually our go-to game since we don't have a lot of time and we don't have a lot of time for setup, so it's just kind of, you know, on the table running. And all of this stuff actually corresponds to the army lists for the Alien Hives there. Now, let's say those aren't big enough and bulky enough for you for your basic warriors. Then you get into the Hive Guardians, who are a lot more heavily armored, as you can see here. And much like the basic warrior, they have a bunch of special weapons as well. I'm actually considering printing a few of these up, maybe at like 130% larger. I mean, I'm thinking they're supposed to be Hive Guard equivalents, but, you know, Hive Guard are kind of large. I figure they need to be a lot more bulky, or at least like a Terminator equivalent. So I would suggest, and I'm probably going to get around to this, bulking them up to a larger size. Okay, those are the same weapons. Just a very slight change in the pose there. I think a bigger version of these guys would be really cool to have. We're not done. If you don't like having big guns on them, then hey, you can go with the swords as well. I don't think we have an Apex Alpha version of these guys yet, but considering the amount of models that we've got in the Hive, we're still going. We're not anywhere close to being finished. That might be something we see in the future still. Oh gosh, I don't even remember what these guys are called. There's a bunch of quadruped guys that I don't think have any actual equivalent in a proper 40k army, but they're, you know, very guerrilla-like. I don't even know. No, I haven't even printed everything. I know there's like a Carnifex style, just big brute type model, and I don't have any of those, but maybe you need a fast attack. I guess maybe as a Ravener, but then again, I think they had some snake guys as well. And speaking of snake type models, we also have these floaters. We have Venom and Synapse floaters, and this was kind of a challenge to get all those tentacles. I was quite worried, but they came off okay. Again, I know if you're like used to Zoanthropes and Venomthropes, they're a lot larger. I mean, I think they're more in scale with, like, I know it's a Maker's Cult Iron Hive, but I think they're much more in scale with those. So again, the size, something to be aware of. But that is, I believe, the Synapse one with the big brain. But then there's the Venom one with all the crazy tentacles. I think I might have broke one tentacle. You'll notice some of these are a bit shinier than others. I've been playing around with the water washable resin, and I think that's been really helping. Of course, that stuff ain't cheap either, though. I mean, who doesn't want weird, tentacly, floaty brain bug creatures on the tabletop? Like I said, I think this stuff would work great in a fantasy setting. And we're still not done. Let's say you need an actual swarm and you don't want to have a bunch of grunts. Well, they've got the swarm models too, which would probably fit on a 40mm base if I had one handy. Ah, there's one. It's just the right size there. Obviously, if you have a non-lipped version, that would be even better. And then let's say, you know, if you're going to go the whole route, you're going to go all in on making a bunch of aliens, you're going to need some kind of, like, you know, stealthy assassin type, right? Well, that's what this guy is here. This is the Shadow Hunter. And to me, this is kind of the one real miss of the Iron Hive line. And the only reason is, to me, it doesn't match up aesthetically with a lot of the other guys' looks. I think these are all pretty unified in how their designs are. I don't dig this thing's arms. They're really, really thin. At first I thought I misprinted it and I went back and double checked, but no, that's actually how thin his limbs are. I'd love to see a more armored, more reinforced version. I mean, thankfully it hasn't broken yet, and I'm not the most careful with the storage of my models, so that is a plus, but I feel like he just looks a bit too emaciated with those really skinny stick blade arms. I think he could benefit from bulking up a bit. And speaking of bulk, we need to get to the bulk. We haven't got to the big bulky stuff yet. I was saying earlier how there were some Carnifex style models, like I don't remember, like a Hive Rex or something like that. Not Tigrex. But then there's these big things. I'm not even sure what this would be an analogy for, and this thing's got a couple of different variations of heads and bodies with like tentacles. I think it was like a Toxicrene stand-in possibly. And you can see again, I'm just seeing fantasy equivalents in my eyes, even though this thing's not even on the screen right now. It's big enough that I think it would be a nice encounter in a fantasy game as well. Let's see if I can clear out some of the clutter. They're good. So we can move it back and you can see some of the even bigger stuff. You know what I always think? I always think when we have aliens and hive things, what are they? Trigons? The big burrowy snakes? Well, we do have some of those in the Alien Hive as well. Now again, it's not as big. Fits on a 60. That's nowhere near as big as the actual GW models. But, you know, this thing can be its own. I want to say it had a bunch of variations as well. So, the size of these things keeps growing. And what would a hive be without a leader, right? Oh, crap. That just broke. That's not good. So, I had to print up a Lord of the Hive. And knowing me, if you know me, I have to have a bunch of close combat weapons. And actually, this is a pretty cool kit because not only does it have the close combat options, it does have the ranged cannon options, and it has a winged option. There were two body types you can print out, one that has the wing slots and one that doesn't, but I obviously went. We're going to get in close and dirty on the ground there. And then, over the last 2 or 3 months, there's been even larger stuff getting printed. And oh gosh, what was this thing called? I think it was called the Devourer. This thing has, I don't even remember how many different variations. This is just one that I made. Now the fit was a little bit rough for me and I probably should have cleaned it better before I went ahead and glued it. I didn't glue the whole thing yet. I just thought it would be easier for painting purposes, but these are these big 6-legged monstrosities. Actually reminds me a bit of a bullet from D&D. But this thing actually serves as the basis for like the big artillery monsters. They have like cannons and missile launchers kind of grown organically in their backs. And I know off the top of my head there's a couple of other ones that have come out since. So, I mean, there's a lot to take in. And I haven't even shown you every single model that's in the collection because I don't even have all of them. I have most. But, you know, with all the various variations on this stuff, I think there is a huge ton of potential if you are into the bug types, if you want to put together a kill team, if you want to use them for some other game. You know, me, I want to do some kind of bug hunt with like the War Games Atlantic basic grunts. I think they're perfect for it. And I just keep printing up tiny little ones every now and then. Whenever I have some space on the print bed, it seems like another Alien Hive member is hitting up the space there. So, fun stuff. I was thinking, you know, since the size doesn't really match up with a lot of the actual official stuff, you know what they would be really cool with? Is 15mm guys. I think at 15mm, then they're going to be really impressive. Then you're really going to be, you know, putting on the hurt for whatever the heroes are. Then, yeah, things get seriously menacing at that point. But honestly, that'd be kind of cool, because if you're playing at that scale using this stuff with 15mm figures and not altering the size, which I didn't do on any of these yet, although I probably will on those Guardians, I think you could really have a lot of fun with like power armor vehicles, you know, embankments, emplacements, fortresses, stuff like that at 15. I think there's going to be a lot of fun to be had. If you guys have any good rule sets that are, well, obviously besides one-page rules, because what am I saying? I already know where the good rules are. I totally could see some of this stuff working in 15mm, like I said, but definitely some fun stuff. I'll put a link down below if you guys want to check it out. I've had a lot of fun with these, and hopefully I'm thinking probably going to continue on with the Kraken-style coloring. If you guys think I should continue on with some kind of crazy fluorescent rainbow metallics, we could try going that route too. I'd love to hear your opinions down below. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you guys back here soon. Bye-bye.